everyone, it's Trent here at the Delta Rivers Nature Center in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Today we're going to be talking about the bald eagles that we have on exhibit here at the Delta Rivers Nature Center. Now, we are the only facility in Arkansas where you can see bald eagles on exhibit. So, next time you can, whenever we open back up, please stop by and visit us. Now, here at the Nature Center we have 3 bald eagles, and the reason we have them here is because they were injured in the wild. Okay? Now, our first one here is our oldest. He's one of our males. He's about 27 years old. Now, he was injured in the wild as a chick. He actually fell out of his nest and broke one of his wings. Now, his wing did heal up. He can fly, okay, but he was hand raised at that point, so he's what we call imprinted, which is why he can't be released back into the wild. Now, what that means is that he is reliant upon people for food, and he lacks a fear of people. But that does not mean he's kind to people or likes us very much. He can actually be pretty territorial sometimes when we go in there, so we have to keep our eye on him. We also have another male bald eagle here at the Nature Center, and he was actually shot in the wild. Okay, he's about 18 to 19 years old now. Okay, and he was actually brought here as a juvenile, which means he did not have his white head or tail. Now, they get that white head or tail when they turn about 5 years old. So when he was brought here, the staff here was able to actually watch him transition into adulthood. Okay. Now, he was shot in his right wing, so it had to be amputated to save him. So he cannot fly, and he will remain here for the rest of his life as well. Okay? Then our last bald eagle is our largest. And the reason she's the largest is because she's our female. Now, in birds of prey, females are always larger than the males, and they're typically about 25% larger. She has about a 6.5 to 7 foot wingspan. She's really, really large. Okay? And she is also our youngest bald eagle. She's only about 10 to 12 years old. Now, she was injured just a few years ago in the wild, and she was injured as an adult, so we don't know how old she is. We couldn't age her from her transitioning or from her feathers, okay? So, we just have an estimate, basically, of how old she is. Now, bald eagles have a pretty long lifespan. Now, on average, they live about 30 years in the wild, but in captivity, they've been known to live up to be about 50 years. So, we expect a lot of time out of all of our bald eagles here. Now, the bald eagles we have here at the Nature Center get a wide variety of different types of foods, and we kind of have that food on a schedule or a rotation. So, pretty much every day, they're getting something a little bit different. So, we feed them fish, we feed them rats, chicks, and then also a lot of donated meat that we get here. That includes deer, pork every once in a while, and anything that we trap and catch for them. Bald eagles are incredibly strong birds as well. Okay, in their feet they have about 500 pounds per square inch of pressure. That's about the same as a lion has in its jaws. Okay, and they use all of that force in their feet to be able to dispatch their prey very, very quickly. Oftentimes, even though they're primarily fish eagles, they will eat things like squirrels and rats and rabbits. And those animals have very sharp, very strong teeth and very strong jaws. So they try and dispatch their animals or their prey very quickly so that they don't get injured, so that the bald eagles don't get injured during the hunting process. Now, bald eagles also eat a lot of carrion. Now, carrion is just a very fancy word of saying dead animals. Now, we oftentimes associate carrion with vultures, but bald eagles and other birds of prey oftentimes will eat carrion too. Now, bald eagles are primarily fish eagles, okay? And that's going to be the majority of their diet. Now, the reason they're called bald eagles is because of their white heads, okay? Now, in Old English, bald actually meant white-headed eagle, so basically they're being called the white-headed eagle. It's not because they lack feathers on their heads. Now, bald eagle was chosen as our nation's symbol very early in the adoption of our nation, or very early in the history of our nation. Now, we wouldn't know how appropriate they were as our nation's symbol until much later in our nation's history. Now, when the bald eagle was chosen as our nation's symbol, there was one very famous person who was very opposed to it, and you may know him. It's Benjamin Franklin. Now, he actually proposed that the wild turkey be our nation's symbol. Now, the reason he opposed the bald eagle so strongly is because the bald eagle oftentimes steals food from other animals, oftentimes from other bald eagles, and even people. So very early, when a lot of people were fishermen, Okay, the bald eagles would oftentimes try to steal their catch from them. Now, the reason they're very appropriate is because bald eagles' population has gone through a lot of troubles and a lot of struggles, but they recovered from it. In the 1960s, we started to realize that bald eagles' population was hurting. And the reason it was hurting is because of the use of a pesticide called DDT. Now, we were using DDT to try and control pests and try and protect crops, but what this DDT would do is it would wash down into the rivers and lakes and streams, and it would get into the fish, and since bald eagles are primarily fish eagles, it got into their food source. Now, the DDT, what it did to the bald eagles is it made it to where the females could not produce hard eggs, so it essentially halted reproduction for bald eagles. So we didn't realize this until the 1960s, and we did put a stop to it. Now, to try and help bald eagles recover, because at that point they only had about 800 bald eagles left in the wild, we did a lot of breeding programs, and we did what we called hacking out bald eagles. So what that means is that we were trying to raise bald eagles to release them back into the wild. But those bald eagles oftentimes did not survive very well. Okay? But bald eagles actually took care of their recovery on their own. All we had to do was stay out of their way. In 2007, biologists were able to count that we had over 45,000 bald eagles in the wild, up from that 800. So we were able to pull them off the endangered species list, but they are still a protected species, protected by their own act along with the golden eagles. Okay? And their protection is even higher than other birds of prey, and even higher than other migratory birds. So, for most migratory birds, it's actually illegal to possess a feather from one of them. The only safe bird that you can possess a feather from is a bird that you can have as a pet, or a bird that you can hunt in the wild. Okay? For all other birds, it's actually illegal to possess their feathers, and that can get you a fine. Now, a lot of people think that Native Americans can pick up bald eagle feathers and have those, but actually they have to send in an application with the U.S. government to receive bald eagle feathers. Okay? They can't just go out in the wild and find a bald eagle feather and pick it up either. So, these bald eagles are very highly protected animals, and that's because they are so important to the history of our nation. Now, interesting enough, Arkansas is actually an excellent place to watch bald eagles. During the wintertime, we get hundreds of bald eagles that migrate into the state every year. And the reason they come to Arkansas is because they love raising their young here. There's a great food supply, and our winter is not as harsh, so it's actually very easy for them to raise their young here in Arkansas. Now, oftentimes these bald eagles are following waterfowl, so they're following ducks and coots, and they will eat those animals on their way down here. Now, there's no better place than Arkansas to hunt ducks, and bald eagles know that too. So I hope you all enjoyed seeing these bald eagles, and I hope next time that you can, and next time that we're open, you guys come out and get to visit them and see them up close. Have a good one and be safe.